in Macon, Georgia. And I have to tell you what just happened, because I love to reveal these kind of things. I just we're talking with you, and we're talking away about the Beverly Hillbillies, and then I said, I was going to say, next we'll come back and we'll talk to Gomer and Goober, and I thought, wait a minute. This is Jim and George. These are actors. I can't use those names. So I said, when we come back, we'll talk to the gentleman on your right. And then I thought, what do I call them? Do I call them their real names, or do I call them what they play? I mean, doesn't this happen a lot? And isn't it kind of like, okay?
Well, you could call me Tom.
You have always been a sex symbol, George. I don't think anybody ever told you that.
Yeah, they told me that at the home.
Which home was that?
No, that's the thing about when we had television series, that we never really knew we were going to be a sex symbol like we are today.
I certainly didn't.
You did not?
I had no idea I would.
Desired by millions? All right, come on now. Let's do this formally. The Andy Griffith Show, Mayberry RFD, and Gomer Pyle account for how many years of your life, sir?
Well, I was on Andy's for a year and a half, and then I got my own show, Gomer Pyle. I went into the Marine Corps out of Mayberry, you know. It was funny because I heard her telling how she got the part and everything. Actually, Andy saw me in a nightclub, and I had never acted before. And George and I were friends, and he got mad at me because he had read for the Gomer Pyle part.
You read for Gomer also?
I had it. They said, you're going to start. And then they saw Jim at the Horn in Santa Monica, and I didn't get the part. And I went home and kicked the television set out. I wanted that part. I needed a job. But it worked out good for both of us. It accounted in my life 4 years of Andy Griffith, 3 years of Mayberry, and 19 years of Hee Haw.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Jim, that's 11 years of your life, too, because I just added it up very quickly.
Well, actually, my career was a whole bunch different. I had like 4 careers as opposed to most people just having one. Because when you do like a situation comedy, on the weekends I was trying to develop my singing. And of course they didn't want me to sing on Gomer because they didn't think it fit the character. And so I was doing it on weekends, after shooting all week. And so then I started recording, and I've made about 35 albums.
Settle.
And then after that I decided to put an act together, and so I went into Las Vegas, and so that's what I've been doing all these years.
So you have had 4 reincarnations.
Right.
But come on now. I'm really getting to something, and you're not giving me an answer about this.
What's that?
During the day, when you were doing these shows, it's 14 years or 22 years or 18 years. During the day, aren't you, Gomer? I mean, you can't just suddenly change characters like that, can you?
Well,
Don't you walk around all day like kind of goofy-like? I'm sorry, but you know what I mean. I mean, if I came upon you, exactly. Look at
So actually, we worked about 12, 14, 16-hour days, and so, you were asking her about being, feeling famous or any of that in your shows, number 1, number 2, whatever. And actually, you work so hard, and then at night you had to go home and memorize 15 pages of dialogue that you weren't really aware of. People would tell you these gigantic ratings and things, but it didn't mean anything.
Didn't mean anything.
Had no idea. All I ever saw was the 4 sides of that studio, looking around.
So am I hearing you're earning a lot of money and there's nowhere to spend it? Is this what I'm hearing? Or no time to spend it?
Well, I always, I save a whole lot of money when I'm working.
Do you?
Yeah.
No shops,
It's
no
when I ain't got a job, it's trouble comes, I just...
George?
Well, it's funny to all of you, but when you're working, it's not funny to us because in acting, it's
Is that what you were doing?
What?
Were you acting?
Acting?
Yeah.
No, I'm like that, just like you. Amazingly enough, a lot of us came on the show, I replaced Jim. We came out of the theater. We came out of various Broadway vehicles.
I didn't, you did.
Well, you can tell you didn't. But what people don't know is we had careers before the Andy Griffith Show. Hitchcocks, Gunsmokes, Riflemen's, all kinds of television and the theater. And that's how I did it, and Andy and Don and Francis all came out of the New York theater.
But they're so strong, Goober and Gomer. Have you ever overcome them? Don't you have to overcome that? It's like that role. You play that role.
I never have tried.
You never have tried?
No, it's too much a part of me.
Yeah.
What about you, George? But George is a trained actor.
Yeah.
And this is a whole different ballgame. Do you walk around holding your mouth funny?
Well, you know, when I read for Gomer, I'll get to you in a second, but when I read for Gomer, George had been, he keeps saying we had all this training. He had all this training. I mean, he was on Broadway and everything. I was just straight out of Alabama, and when I read for Gomer, I told, I leveled with him. I said, I never acted before. This is my first shot at it. And Andy said, well, ain't nothing to it.
That shows you what training will do for you.
How does it feel? Did it typecast you, George?
Yeah.
It did.
Yeah, my mother even said, she'd say, I want you to meet my son, Goober. And I'd say, don't do that. But she knew my name, too.
Your mother called you Goober? When you went, when that gig was over, though, you spent all that time on Hee Haw.
Still doing it. We're still a live show.
Yeah.
We film again in June.
Where are you originally from?
Jasper, Alabama.
So you are a Southern person, at least.
Yeah. Now, if you, Sally, maybe some of your audience don't know where it is, but a lot of people stop there on their way to Europe.
Why?
Well, you stop off someplace if you're going, abroad.
I say that they pick up their passports. All right.
No, that's how George and I were friends. I'm from Sylacauga, Alabama.
From where?
Sylacauga, Alabama.
Yeah.
I won't tell you what that means.
So now we got Louisiana and Alabama. Everybody stay tuned. The stars from Petticoat Junction, Hee Haw, and the Dukes of Hazzard when we return.